Hey, Espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. Today, we're gonna go over some best practices on super automatic bean-to-cup machines. I'll have some tips, tricks, hacks, the maintenance stuff you need to know, and what you need to get your machine going if you've just picked up a new super automatic bean-to-cup, or you might be doing that. Just had a flat white finish up over here on one of my favorite machines, the Jura N8. Awesome, and right before that, I made another one of my favorites over on the Gaggia Cadorna Prestige, an Americano. This machine does true Americanos. For a long time, my goal has been to get people off of these things. The pre-ground in a plastic cup that you're paying 50 cents, probably maybe even more than that sometimes. That coffee, it's really not all that great. What I want you to do, and what these machines do, of course, is, those fresh whole beans. And you start with these and one of these machines, and you're looking at maybe 20 cents per cup as opposed to maybe 50 cents or more in one of these, and believe me, the coffee is so much better. So we're gonna go over some of the products that you need to take care of your machine. Taking care of these machines, it's like taking care of your car, changing the oil, putting the air in the tires, changing your filters, that kind of thing. You do it right, and these machines are gonna give you years of service and make you really fantastic drinks. We'll go over some initial setup and settings, where to set your grinder, that kind of thing, and temperatures. We'll talk about water filters and descaling and the basic cleaning stuff. Let's get right into it here already. So you got a new machine, you take it out of the box. First thing you're gonna wanna do, almost all machines are gonna come with one of these. It's a water hardness test strip. So let's get a little look at that. And this is really easy to use. I'm going to do it real quick here. So you just get some tap water like I have here. You just dip this in there for a second, shake off the excess, set it down, leave it alone for a minute, and that's going to tell you what your water hardness is. Then on most every super automatic machine, you're going to enter that into a menu. And then the machine's going to use that to tell you when it's time to descale. Now, some machines are going to come with a water filter. They look like this. This is a Jura one right here. On Jura machines, like this one here, most all Jura machines, if you use a water filter, you're never gonna have to descale. Now, you don't ever have to use a filter. Some machines are gonna come with them, some aren't. But if you do, again, in the Jura machine like this one and most other Juras, you will never have to descale. Over here on the Gaggia, you can use that water filter. You're still gonna have to descale that, but using a filter on a machine like this, it's gonna really extend the time until you have to descale. It can double and triple the time in between descaling. Again, you don't have to use a filter, but it's gonna give you better tasting coffee, and it's gonna help your machine stay cleaner. Let me just show you real quick. I've got a little cutaway model here I used in a video the other day of what the boilers look like in this. So this is a thermal block boiler. This is what heats the water in your machine. May not look exactly like this, but it's going to be very similar. What it's got is a stainless steel pipe that coils through this block of aluminum and then a heating element embedded in there. So it's a very narrow passage that your water is going through. I'm going to split this open here so you can see, and I'll point out what's going on in here. So the water is just spiraling through the boiler through that stainless tube. Now that's a really narrow tube, and if you get scale in there, you're going to have a buildup, and that's going to affect your machine performance. In fact, we service a lot of machines, and failure to descale your machine or use a proper filter, in the case of a Jura kind of thing, that's going to result in problems. It's the #1 reason for machine problems. So just like changing the oil in your car, you either need to, like in a Jura machine, use a filter or descale it on a regular basis, or use a filter in the other machine, or just do that descaling. It's really easy and simple to do. Takes about 10-15 minutes. I've got a couple of the descaling products here. Now what I usually say is just use the product recommended by the manufacturer. They've formulated its proper strength and all that. So most manufacturers are going to recommend a product. They're really not trying to make money. They just want you to have your machine running properly, and it's really necessary maintenance. Now, if there isn't a recommended descaler for your machine, or you can't find it, one that's almost always perfectly safe to use in these machines is this stuff right here, this Durgal Swiss Espresso Special Decalcifier. It's formulated to work really well. Let me set that for you. In all those machines. So if there isn't a recommended product, that's one that you can use. Another thing you're going to find, in Jura machines, the brew group is not removable. On Gaggia machines, they are. Let me show you what that brew group looks like. So this is the brew group out of this machine right here. And the maintenance on this, you really don't have to do much. what you do is like once a week, you just take this out and rinse it at the sink. No soap. Do not use soap on this. Just rinse it, you know, and then just let it, shake it off, and then just let it dry. There is lubrication back in here, and that's why you don't want to use the soap, so you don't get off that lubrication. Then, maybe once a month or so, you're going to use one of these. This Gaja, this is Coffee Clean. This is a cleaning tablet. I'll pull one out here so you can take a look at it. They come in packs of 10, and it looks just like this right here. And that, what you're going to do with that, all these machines have bypass dosers. So you're just going to go like you're making a pre-ground coffee from pre-ground. So that's just going to drop in here, and you're just going to run a brew cycle. And what this is going to do, it's a detergent that's going to get in here and get rid of all the coffee oils that are going to accumulate in here. So it's about once a month you're going to want to do that in a Gaja machine or other semi-automatic or super automatic machines, excuse me. So it cleans out that area and cleans out all the coffee oils and any of the coffee delivery circuits, and just keeps things clean and tasting good inside. Over here on the Jura machines, again, the brew group is not removable in here. Now on most Jura machines, what you're going to get is a little box like this that's got the tablets. And it does the same thing here. On the N8 here, it's every 160 brew cycles or 80 turn on, turn offs. The machine's going to tell you right in the display to do the cleaning. So you just drop it in, the bypass doser is right up here. You just drop that tablet in. It takes about maybe 15 minutes or so, and it just runs through some cycles and cleans everything out in there. Jura tries to really make maintenance easy. So again, no removable brew groups in these. And again, if you use a filter, a water filter on this machine, you never need to descale. Now, if you choose not to descale on a Jura, they do have, you know, larger packages of their descaling products like this one. Theirs comes like in a tablet form that you just drop into the reservoir, you let it dissolve and run the descaling. And they also, again, on most Jura machines, you're going to get a few of those group cleaning tablets. But what I'm going to recommend you do is get like a bigger bottle, like 25 of these. You know, you can do the math as to, you know, how long it takes you to do 160 brew cycles on one of these. But usually you get one of these, that's going to last you at least a year of cleaning, going to keep everything tasting good. Now, we also have milk systems on these machines, so let's talk about how you take care of those. Over here on the Cadorna Prestige, it's a carafe system. If you're not familiar, so you put your milk in here, you take off this guy, I'm kind of doing it backwards here, and then your carafe snaps on right here, and that's how you get all your great milk drinks. The milk comes right out of there. But this does require some maintenance. First of all, when it's on the machine after you've made a milk drink, and many machines will do this, it'll ask you if you want to do a quick rinse. If you do the quick rinse, it's not a real deep cleaning, but with the quick rinse, you can close this up, put it right back in the refrigerator, and you're ready to go for next time. Then what you're going to do on an occasional basis is take this stuff off. You clean out, you know, you'll clean out your reservoir real well. This pulls apart like this. And then you're just going to take these parts apart and you're going to clean them by hand. It's really easy to do, but you do want to keep these things clean. You know, the number one reason for poor frothing performance is dirty milk components. I'll leave those right out there for now. Over here on the Jura, it's a little bit different. We have a tube-fed system. That's what you're going to find on most Jura machines. Some Jura machines will do that quick rinse of the frothing components that's right back in here. But then you're also going to take these out from time to time. Then there's also milk cleaning agents that can go into the carafe when you're doing a deep cleaning, and it'll run through, it'll clean the tube out and clean all the frothing components out for you. So that's, a lot of machines are going to come with a bottle of that. Some do, some don't. But if you want to, you know, if you always save when you get it in bulk, and you know, something like this, if you use your machine on an average level, this 33 ounces is going to last you. I think it's good. It's about 60, 65, 70 cleanings. It's about a half ounce that you put in there, that kind of thing. So you got that. So we talked about the milk, we talked about the descaling and all that. Oh, so when you initially set up your machine, what I'm going to recommend you do is you set your grind to the finest grind. So like on the Gaja up here, it's got this little tool, the grind setting is up here. Now if you do this before you put any beans into the machine, you don't have to worry about the grinder running because there's no beans in there. Now later on, when you have beans in there, if you're adjusting finer, the grinder should always be running when you're doing that, because what you've got is a couple of burrs up in there that are, you know, touching each other. If there's beans in between those, you're going to be crushing them as you try to adjust the grind finer. Another tip with the beans, if you're going to be doing mostly espresso beverages, again, I would just always start at the finest setting. If you're going to do mostly espresso beverages, you want to be at the fine settings. If you're going to be doing mostly longer coffees, then maybe you make it a little bit coarser to avoid over extractions on that. And about beans. I got a couple of bean types here, one of my favorites and one of AJ, he's behind the camera there, one of his favorites as well. So I've been drinking the Orphea forever. This makes excellent crema-rich espresso. It's a classic Italian-style bean blend, one of my favorites. Gets incredibly great reviews. This stuff runs about 10 bucks a pound. If you want to try AJ's favorite, this is the Carraro Tazza d'Oro. This is a little bit more expensive. I think it runs about 15 a pound, but it's got like some, smooth, good body, some brightness up front, and it's really sweet. So just a couple for you to try. If you want to go super high end, I've got like an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe here from a local roaster that I like a lot. This is a single origin coffee, much more expensive than those two, but if you want to get in and try something completely different than the classic Italian style bean blend, something like this Yirgacheffe coffee from our local roaster, Fuego, is really, really nice. Let's see, what else we got to talk? Oh, let's talk about some of those tips and tricks, right? So what I do, and you can see, I got my Americano over here, but usually all these machines are going to rinse on startup and shutdown. That's just cleaning out the coffee delivery circuits. So it's going to put some water down into the drip tray. So what I generally do when I'm around, so I don't have to empty drip trays so much, is I'll just leave a coffee cup or some other cup there all the time to catch that. Now you don't have to do that, but it's just going to help you so you don't have to empty the drip tray so much. Little tip there. Also on these drip trays, they generally are made of like a steel or a chrome thing. So I try to avoid using cups like this, which have, a raw ceramic bottom to them because these scratch really easy. I love my my Camelback stuff, of course, because it says Whole Latte Love on it. But it also has a rubber bottom on there, so it's not going to hurt that at all. Then we have some of the Fellows, the really cool Fellow stuff. I love these too. These are nice and smooth, and they shouldn't scratch either. So that's really nice. And on the drip trays, on a machine, know if your machine is going to tell you if it needs to be emptied or not. On the Gaja over here, it will not tell you. It does have a little pop-up indicator, so you'll see the red thing come up and let you know you got to pull that drip tray out and empty it. Other machines, like on the Jura over here, it has electronic monitoring. There's a couple little tabs that stick down in the drip tray, and when those both contact liquid, the machine will tell you it's time to empty it. These machines also are going to tell you when it's time to empty these guys here. I'm going to pull this out. This is a used coffee bin out of the Gaja. And the machine counts the number of brew cycles done and then tells you to empty it. So something to keep in mind, on some machines, if you pull this out and empty it, the machine may not really register that you did that. So you might go in there, pull it, and it'll tell you to empty it, and there's only a couple in there. That's because you emptied it maybe before the machine told you to do so. But one thing, always do empty it when the machine is on. So that it knows that you took it out. Because like on this Gaja, if it tells you to empty it and then you do it and put it back, if the machine's on, it's going to register that. I know on a lot of the Jura machines, because I've used a lot of these, that so long as on most Juras, so long as the machine is on and you pull the grinds bin out and empty it, the machine is going to think that you've done that, and it won't tell you to do it again until it's gone through the number of brew cycles, even if it hadn't put in the display that it was time to empty it. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, let's talk about some of those hacks. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on, don't use those rough bottom ceramic cups. If you like warmer drinks, one thing you can do, and I've done it over here, you get a little passive heat on this. There's a little cup warming tray on the Gaja here, so you can leave your cup up there. Also, you can preheat cups. All these machines, like this Gaja here, if I don't have my carafe in, I can get hot water out of it and preheat cups. You do the same thing over on the Jura. Most all machines can do that. You get a little hot water out there. A lot of people who are coming straight from, who have just gotten into, milk-based espresso beverages are like, why isn't it as hot as a regular cup of coffee? Well, when a, well-trained barista makes a milk-based espresso beverage, it's never going to be that hot because they're going to only froth the milk to about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe even a little bit less. That's about 60 degrees C, I think. And the reason that it goes to that temperature is that's where milk is at its sweetest flavor. As you go hotter, oh, in my machine over here, I made the milk drink, so it's going to do my little rinse here. I'm going to get my flat white out of the way. So that's a pretty good demo of what happens. This one just kind of automatically does a little rinse, which is very handy right before it shuts off and gets things cleaned up. But that's like a case where, you know, if I had my cup under there, the water wouldn't be going in the drip tray, wouldn't have to empty it quite so much. So anyhow, back to the milk drinks. You know, they're going to be cooler than a standard cup of coffee. That's just the way it should be. That's the proper way to make it. You don't want milk at 170 degrees. You're really up at scalding temperatures there. And the hotter you go with milk, the less sweetness it's going to have. You know, a well-made latte, you should really be able to gulp it. Should not be burn your tongue hot. So that's a little bit about the initial setup here. Again, set your grinder to the finest before you start. You can always back off on that. If you're finding maybe you're getting some bitter flavors or something, a lot's going to depend on the coffee you're using. But if you do that before the beans are in there, then you don't have to run the grinder when you make the change. I tend to start at the highest strength. All these machines have strength settings, so you can adjust the strength of your espresso or your coffee. I like to start at the highest. I also just by default always go, you know, if a machine has like a low, medium, high temperature setting for beverages, I always go high, and you can always back off from that. I will say on the Cadorna Prestige here, it's one of the only machines I've ever backed off from the high temperature on. This one makes a nice hot coffee. So there's that. Oh, and programming. You know, all the machines are going to come with, you know, drinks preset at classic sizes, but you do have the ability to really customize them. On all the machines. A lot of them are going to have like press and hold, so you just press the button of the drink you want, and then you let the coffee or the milk go when you have the amount you want in your cup. You press another button, it stops, and then it retains that amount. Or you can go deeper into menus, like on the Cadorna Prestige here, you can set volumes in ounces or milliliters for your coffee and your milk. You can do the same thing over here on the Jura machine. So that's the basic primer on the machines and getting them going. As always, if you have any questions, I'd love to help you out, so do use those comments. You know, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we have tons of videos on these machines, so do check those out, and I do hope you will subscribe. Until you come back for more, I'm Mark from Whole Latte Love. Thanks for watching.